Hello everyone, welcome back to Tashkin House. Today it is literally snowing while I am doing this intro. So let me know in the comment section below how the weather is in your area. But in today's video, I am so excited to share with you guys my DIY paper mache bowl. So without further ado, let's jump into today's video. To start this DIY paper mache bowl, I like to hold on to recycled paper that's been delivered to our home. You never know when inspiration will strike. This particular batch came from a recent delivery, so it'll take me a bit of time to tear it apart and run it through my paper shredder. I love shredding the paper as thin as possible. It really helps to break it down more easily when working with this type of material. Now that the paper is shredded nice and fine and looking great, I like to take one extra step. It's totally optional, but I found it really helps. Before placing the paper on the stove, I toss it into my blender for a quick dry chop, just for a few seconds, no water. This helps break the paper down even more. Here's how the paper looks right after shredding. And here's how it looks after a quick blend. Taking this extra step makes the breakdown process go much faster once you add water and start cooking it on the stove. One question that I might get in the comments is, how much water do I use in the pot compared to the amount of paper? Honestly, it really depends on the size and thickness of the piece you're making. If you run out of paper mache, you can always make another batch. Just make sure you have plenty of paper materials on hand to finish your project. I usually add enough water to fully cover the shredded paper. Then I simmer it on low heat for about 30 minutes. Once it's done, I let the mixture cool completely before moving on to the next step. Since I was making 3 different sizes of paper mache bowls, I made sure to have plenty of paper on hand to get through the whole project. And yes, I definitely had to make a few batches to finish all 3 bowls. Now that the paper is fully broken down, I'm going to let it rest for about 45 minutes to an hour to make sure it is completely cooled. While the paper is cooling, I'm going to prep my mold using teal colored plastic moving wrap because that is what I have on hand. You can also use regular saran wrap if that's what you got. I tried 2 different methods, one with a light coating of oil on the wrap to see if it would release easier, and the other with the paper placed directly onto the wrap without any oil. Surprisingly, both methods worked well and the paper did not stick. Now that the paper has completely cooled, I'm getting ready to blend it. You might be wondering why. Well, I like to make sure the paper is broken down as much as possible so it's smooth and easy to work with when applying it. I always add plenty of water to the blender to keep it running smoothly and to prevent it from overheating. Once I'm happy with the texture, I pour the mixture into a kitchen towel over a bowl and squeeze out all the excess water. Now that the water has been squeezed out of the towel, I wanted to give you a close-up of how the paper looks. I'm really pleased on how well the material has broken down. Next, I'm placing the paper into a plastic bag so I can make my glue slurry. I prefer the glue to be on the wetter side because it's much easier to work with. Pouring thick glue directly into the paper can make it too tacky and hard to manage, which is not my cup of tea. That is why I like using the slurry method. Once the glue is mixed, I work it through the paper really well before applying it to the mold. I'm using Elmer's glue all. It's nice and strong and it works great for this kind of project. Now it is time for the fun part, making our bowls. In this video, I'm starting with the medium-sized one for the mold. The other two I made off camera. There are no strict rules when it comes to applying the paper onto your mold. Just have fun with it and enjoy the sculpting process. As for my glue slurry, I pour in a little at a time and mix it really well with the paper. I add more as I need it depending on how the mixture feels. Now that I'm done shaping my bowls, it's time to take them outside. I love when spring and summer arrives. This is the perfect time to make paper mache because you can let the sun cure them naturally. It took my bowls a total of 2 days to fully release from the molds. I live in a dry climate, so that may have helped speed up the process. Dry time really depends on your climate, so be patient. If your bowl doesn't come off the mold easily, that means it's not fully dried yet. Just leave it alone and give it some more time. Once it does release, let it cure for a couple of days before moving on to the next step. Okay, it's about 2 weeks later. And as you can see, my bowl is fully cured. You can absolutely leave it as it is or paint it, is definitely your call. But I like to take the process a step further. I love adding joint compound over the paper mache to give it extra structure. With my lifestyle and our clumsy kids, I prefer the added sturdiness. That way, if it happens to fall, it's less likely to get damaged. It's now the next day, and my joint compound has fully cured. Once it's dry, I like to use a fine grit sandpaper to gently buff away any rough spots. Normally, I would stop here and move on to painting the paper mache bowls, but this time I wanted to try something different. I was going for a primitive look, and while I usually layer on a lot of paint to get that effect, I decided to experiment by adding another layer of texture before painting just to see how it turned out. And honestly, guys, I love the final results, so let me show you what I did next. Okay, so this part gets a little messy, which is why I had to take it outside. My goal for this project was to give the bowls a primitive, earthy look. To get that effect, I gathered some sand and mixed it with water to create a kind of a mud wash for the paper mache. I stirred the sand into the water and applied the mixture to the bowl. But here's the key. Don't oversaturate it. Paper mache can break down if it gets too wet, so you want to be very careful with the amount of water you use. The goal is to apply more sand than water. The water simply helps move the sand around and stick to the surface. I started with the exterior of the bowl, covering it fully, then set it out in the sun to completely dry. Once that was dry, I repeated the process on the interior and let that dry as well. And this is what the bowl looks like once the sand has dried. Oh, I absolutely love the added texture. It really takes this piece to another level. Next, I'm going to spray on a matte clear coat by Rust-Oleum. I'll let it cure for about an hour or so before moving on to the painting stage. Now that the sealer is dry, I'm getting ready to start painting. This is the final step before sealing it one more time after the paint is done. Today's colors are white, vanilla, and a little bit of khaki. I'm using two different brushes, a flat brush for general coverage and a stencil brush for adding dimensions with the khaki color. I like to paint this on dry for that texture, primitive look. You might notice a little dirt or sand coming off of your painting. That's totally normal. Just brush it off. The paper mache bowl, once you're done, as long as the sand layer is mostly sealed in, you're good to go. Just finish it off with one final clear coat. Let it cure and you won't have any more sand or shedding from your piece. I like to dab a little bit of white and vanilla together and let them blend directly on the piece. When I paint, I use an X motion. It really helps the white and vanilla mix beautifully on the surface and creates a nice soft blend. Since this part takes a little time, I'll come back in a bit to show you how I add the khaki color to create some dimension. Now I'm getting ready to add some khaki for dimension. As you can see, I'm not using a lot of paint. This time I'm switching it up using my stenciling brush to apply the color to specific areas where I want a bit more depth. Even though I'm aiming for a dimensional look, I still like to layer the white and vanilla over the khaki to soften it. I don't want the khaki to be too pronounced. I just want it to add a subtle touch without taking over. To create a soft dip, I gently layer the white over the khaki. You'll notice I'm using the X motion again. It really helps the color blend beautifully. And finally, here are the results of all three of my paper mache bowls turned out. I absolutely love the earthiness, the texture, the organic feel. I'm really pleased on how they came together. And that is it, you guys. I am so happy on how the paper mache bowl turned out. The texture, the finish, everything feels so earthy and organic. I really feel like the sand method took the design to a whole new level, but you guys have to let me know in the comment section down below. I really hope this video inspires you to make one of your own. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and let me know what you would like to see next. Happy Easter, by the way. I thank you all for tuning in and watching, and I will see you guys next time.
Si tu savais tout ce que je veux donner pour toi, mon amour.